and welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast. My name is Jess, and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information that I want to cover with you. All right, let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. So if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Now, keep in mind that if you do have any technical issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on today, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you, so throughout today's EcoCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over a live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentations. Now, if we don't get to your question during the live webinar today, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us will be following up after we wrap. All right, next up, there's going to be lots of cool aha moments on the EcoCast today. And if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's EcoCast will be automatically added to your post. All right, our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the handouts tab for some awesome resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection, solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. Now, if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes that we'll be giving away throughout today's EcoCast. I'm going to tell you a bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. First, you do need to be here live in attendance at the EcoCast in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all of you after we wrap. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, if you don't know what those full T's and C's are, that's fine. We've got the full thing for you. Just head on over to that handouts tab, click in, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find them waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we actually have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. So in today's EcoCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our live sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all questions asked after we wrap the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and you would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about your big win, and we'll get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the EcoCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going, so let's connect on social media. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and on LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content and resources right after we wrap the EcoCast today, be sure to subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and, hey, grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or a coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you'll find a link to do that right in your handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected at the end of the webinar. And both you and your coworker or friend could win a prize, and we hold those drawings every month. So be sure to refer a friend because, it could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for all the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your handouts tab, fill out a quick application, and the Actual Tech crew will then match you with some vendors that we think you should probably be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you get to choose to join in, like surveys, test runs, new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you'll learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker on your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you all about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find out everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, prevent, and recover. This site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. Go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books will work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and as I said, they are completely free. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in that handouts tab as well. All right, well, we have covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in. So let's get going.
I agree, Jess. Let's get going. Hey, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast. Today's topic is about as timely and relevant as it gets, securing the software supply chain. Now, I want to start by saying thanks for joining us today. My name is Keith Ward with Actual Tech Media. I'm excited to be your moderator for today's session. Our other moderators are Jess, who you've already met, Scott Becker, who you will be seeing in just a minute or so, and Mackenzie Putissi. We call ourselves the Mod Squad. And I hope you are ready to win today, because 3 of you will soon be $300 richer, courtesy of Amazon gift cards. We're going to get to those at the end of the event. But before we get to our keynote to set the stage for today's session, we do have a poll question for you. Let us know your time frame for adding new or updating existing IT solutions at your company. 0 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, 12 to 24 months. Not sure. This kind of feedback is really crucial to us, so we appreciate you voting in this while you can. The not sure is winning right now, as it usually does. So a lot of you are still unsure. I guess that's what not sure actually means, doesn't it? So not sure is ahead right now in this little horse race, and 1 to 2 years and 6 to 12 months are just about neck and neck. 0 to 6 months is pulling up the rear at this point. But keep on voting here for another few seconds and let us know your time frame there. We really do always appreciate that. And with that, folks, let's get cracking. Okay, Scott and Jess are ready to keynote this puppy today, so I am going to turn it over to them. Scott, kick us off.
Jess, are you ready to talk software supply chain security?
Ooh, Scott, you know, I can't wait, and I am so excited to get into a little competition here, you versus me. But before we do that, I think we should probably start with a little bit of a level set, make sure we're all on the same page about what supply chain attacks actually are, and more importantly, how they're different from other types of security attacks. So Scott, I'm going to hand that one over to you.
That's a great idea, and I have some props to do just that. So
fantastic.
So a software supply chain attack is when the attacker, instead of going, after known or unknown vulnerabilities in software that you've already got installed as a customer, they go up a level. They hack your software supplier, the Microsofts and SolarWinds, the Kaseyas, the VMwares of the world. So in the worst case scenario, they get into those suppliers' internal systems and install their malware into the supplier's software patching system. So when you get a legitimate update from your supplier, say a patch for your Exchange server, you're installing the updates that Microsoft wants you to install for your own good, plus you're installing some malware like a backdoor or a keylogger or ransomware that an attacker has added to the patch. And so to illustrate what this is like, imagine I'm at my house and an unmarked panel van pulls up and tosses this package onto my porch. So I hope you can see it. Now, I'm going to be very, very suspicious of this package for several reasons. And first off, and probably my worst clue, is that, my last name is misspelled. And it's also been sent to me by someone calling themselves the Unabomber. I don't know if you can read that. I should probably pay attention to that. But maybe most alarming is these wires coming out of the corners here under the duct tape. So, Jess, would you bring this package into your house?
For so many reasons, I would not, Scott.
Yeah, so I'm not going to do that either. I'm probably going to gather my family, usher everybody out the back door, and then call the police and ask them to send the bomb squad. So now imagine another scenario. So an Amazon van pulls up to my house. They toss this package onto my porch. It's marked with Amazon's logos. I'm not going to think anything of this package. I'll take it straight inside and tear it open to, see what the miracle of American capitalism has brought me today. And I'm not going to think anything of it. And then what if suddenly I've got anthrax all over my house? So that's what a software supply chain attack is like. The first package, easy to spot. Real attacks are more sophisticated, but between my trained end users, my security professionals, my security software, and like AI enhanced tools, this is most likely going to be stopped before it gets through. But in the second case, I'm lulled into a false sense of security. The payload is wrapped in the legitimate trappings of a vendor that I trust, delivered through a process that I trust. It's extremely insidious and extremely nasty.
It is really nasty. I feel I would be so upset if I thought I was getting some fun, cool thing delivered to my house, and then it was full of, well, okay, I'd be upset for many reasons if it was full of anthrax. That would be bad. But I think, okay, so obviously now we've got a little bit of an understanding of why these are so bad and why we should be concerned about them. And I think maybe the next step before we jump into Scott versus Jess is to talk about the actual attacks that are maybe a little bit more famous, maybe some of the more famous examples that we've seen. And then what we're going to do, so the audience out there with us is ready and prepared, I'm going to list all of these sort of top 4, maybe most famous attacks that we're talking about today. And then Scott and I are each going to take 2. We're going to talk through them, and we're going to have you vote on which one is the worst, which one was the most severe. So kind of keep that in mind as we're going through. You get to pick your most severe attack. So the contenders are, in 2020, we had the US federal government breach, often referred to as the SolarWinds attack, although it also involved Microsoft and VMware. In 2021, there was the Kaseya VSA ransomware attack. In 2023, you all might remember the 3CX incident. And this year was what those of us in Canada will be calling the XZ utils backdoor. You in the US might know this as the XZ utils backdoor. Choose your phrasing there. Scott, what do you think?
About the Z versus Z, I'm definitely on Team Z. But that's a great list of 4 major incidents from the last 5 years. So Jess and I are each going to take 2 of these each and make the case for why each one might be the worst. So Jess, you've got the 2020 U.S. federal government breach. So scare us.
This is great. I'm trying to do that with the social media trend of like we're bouncing back and forth. I'm floating like a butterfly, Scott. Okay, so the 2020 U.S. federal government breach was a supply chain attack by a nation-state attacker. It involved attackers getting a foothold in SolarWinds software publishing infrastructure and sending out malware inside legitimate software updates from SolarWinds to users of its Orion software. So we're looking at that lovely Amazon package that Scott showed us earlier as a fantastic visual aid. Well done, Scott. The same group is suspected of launching simultaneous attacks involving Microsoft software and services and VMware software. This was a widespread attack. On the SolarWinds side, an estimated 18,000 customers downloaded compromised updates. 18,000 customers. Many of the customers were federal government agencies, so big deal, with documented impacts at the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, and the administrative offices of the United States courts. That is a lot of big names. Scott, that's my initial contender. Your turn with Kaseya VSA.
All right, that's going to be a tough one to top, but it's kind of a poster child for supply chain attacks. But this next one is Kaseya VSA. This one's significant to me because I used to run a magazine for channel partners and managed service providers, and this was a huge black eye for that community. So this attack in 2021 is actually a double supply chain attack, because attackers apparently used some severe vulnerabilities in the Kaseya Virtual Systems Administrator to distribute the REvil group's ransomware through hosts managed by the software. So that's the first way that it's a supply chain attack. It's kind of like the same kind that we've been talking about. But the second way has to do with the function of an MSP. So MSPs essentially act as the IT department for their customers. So they're part of the supply chain and they're expected to be more technically savvy than their customers. So when the Kaseya software that they use to manage those customer environments got infected with malware, they were essentially spreading the attack to their customers on behalf of the attacker. So that's sort of why it's a twofer. So, Jess, what's the basic story with 3CX?
All right, my second contender here. Although, I don't know, Scott, you're setting the bar pretty high. Now I feel like I gotta come back. So, okay, we are gonna be talking about 3CX. This happened in March 2023, very recent. CrowdStrike reported at the time, and the soft phone company. I got too excited, Scott. I can't speak anymore. Hang on, we're gonna start. I'm gonna calm down. I'm too pumped up. CrowdStrike reported at the time, and then the soft phone company soon confirmed that its 3CX desktop app was actually calling out to infrastructure from bad actors. So these were signed binaries from 3CX that had been compromised, which is a classic software supply chain attack. So I had to nominate this one because this is the classic, the quintessential, right? Scott, what do you think? What's your final contender here?
Well, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage because I can't really bounce because I'm in a chair. You've got that standing desk, but all right. So this is the last one. So the most recent one on our list is the XZ utils backdoor. So this happened earlier this year, and it's a maliciously introduced backdoor in the Linux utility XZ utils. So what that utility performs is file compression and decompression, and it's present in many of the common Linux distributions. And the version with the backdoor had not been deployed in production versions of major Linux distributions when it was discovered, but it was given a score of 10.0 on the common vulnerability scoring system, which is the highest possible score, meaning it's the most dangerous type of vulnerability. And the famous computer scientist Alex Stamos said, this could have been the most widespread and effective backdoor ever planted in any software product. He said could have been because it was discovered fast. And so the existence of this backdoor has started a new round in the decades-old debate about whether the open source model where unpaid volunteers maintain critical pieces of infrastructure and other volunteers come back and review the code, whether that's a better or worse model for security.
That's a tough one to beat, Scott. That one's redefining how we think about open source. That's kind of a tough act to follow on the old X cough cough Z. That one. Okay, but here's the good news, Scott, because we don't have to decide of our four contenders here. We don't have to pick the winner, right? We're going to turn this on over to Keith, and Keith is going to get that poll up for all of us. And you all out there get to decide which one you think was the most significant supply chain attack. Or, now here's the fun part, there's a write-in option. If you do not think that Scott and I have nailed it, if you don't think that one of these four was the most impactful, the most significant supply chain attack, you get to write in your answer. And so we want to see that in the chat. So enough of us talking back and forth. Keith, let's get that poll up.
Indeed, I will do so, Jess. And it is up right now. Everyone start your voting or write in your votes. So the poll is up. Keep voting, keep voting. Now, I do have to say that I'm with Scott on Team Z also. I mean, look, folks, the letter Z does not have the letters E and D following it. Am I right? I mean, those wacky Canadians, I just don't know sometimes. But thanks for that amazing keynote. Now, I would vote, if I had a vote, for the SolarWinds hack. It was the most famous for sure, but the damage was so wide-reaching, and I doubt we'll ever know the full extent of the damage that it did. But maybe you all disagree with me. No? So far, you do not. Let us know in the poll. Keep voting in the poll, and we are going to be putting up the results here in just a minute. So let's go to do that right now. And Richard is having fun with Team Z as well, and gently mocking the Canadians' pronunciation of out to oot and house to hoose. So anyway, thank you for that, Richard. All right, let's put up the some more. Let's look at the results of that poll right now. We have got U.S. federal government coming in far in first place, just like I thought. Kaseya, yeah, a few of you thought so. 3CX, not too many. The XZ, not XZ, coming in third place. And we've got some, well, I'm not seeing many write-ins yet, so keep on writing in if you wish. And thank you again for that keynote. I just love that. I would be really careful of the envelope that you got, Scott, especially with those wires sticking out and the Unabomber writing in from the woods. That could be a little bit dicey. So now that we have set the stage and whet your appetite for more, it is time, folks, for our main presentation today. And this one comes from Keeper Security. Keeper is ready to go, so I am going to turn things over to them right now, folks. You have the floor.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adrian. I work in Keeper Security's marketing team, and I'm joined today by Sylvain Hennig, who's one of Keeper's solutions engineers based in Ireland, and he's going to be perfect for our topic today on supply chain attacks. So something to know about these is that supply chain attacks are a type of cyber attack that is often overlooked, and they can be more difficult to detect and prevent. Some of the reasons for that are that plenty of vendors aren't maintaining strict cybersecurity policies or using the best tools. Unfortunately, when that happens, that's out of your control, right? But there are ways to protect your organization, your employees, your customers, etc., against these. So, Sylvain, I might interrupt you with a few questions, but the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, we'll start today by talking about basically what are supply chain attacks. So supply chain attacks, they're also known as third-party attack or value chain attack or even backdoor breach. It's when a cyber criminal accesses a business network via a third-party vendor or through the supply chain. The thing is, supply chains can be massive and complex, and this is why some of those attacks are really difficult to trace. Many businesses work with dozens of suppliers for everything from ingredients or production materials to outsource work or even technology. So this is why it is so important to protect the supply chain and ensure the companies you are working with are as committed to security as you are. So there are three main types of supply chain attacks. So today we talk mainly about the first one, the software supply chain attack. It would basically require only one compromised application or piece of software inside your network to deliver malware across the entire supply chain. Attacks will often target an application source code, delivering malicious code into a trusted app or software system. Cybercriminals often target software or application updates as an entry points. Software supply chain attacks are incredibly difficult to trace, and cybercriminals often use stolen certificates to sign the code. So it will look legitimate as well. So that makes things even more difficult to detect. Then the two other types would be firmware supply chain attack. And this time it's about inserting a malware into the computer building code. And those ones are really quick to basically start in a split second. That malware could be basically running on the device. And basically they would, that malware would jeopardize the entire system on the device that has been targeted. And the last type, the main category of a supply chain attack would be hardware supply chain attack. And this time, it depends entirely on the physical device. Cyber criminals would usually target a device that makes its way through the entire supply chain, so that way they can maximize the reach of the attack and the damage as well. So we talk about the solution today, how Keeper could help you basically protect you and your entire organization against the supply chain attack. So here I will start by showing you the documentation portal first. Everything I will be showing today, you will find a lot of information, further information on this portal. So docs.keeper.io. It's usually a great entry point. So at Keeper, we provide an enterprise password management solution where all of the employees of the organization will basically protect themselves with their own votes, where they would use that primarily to store passwords or any sensitive information that they would need to work. But then for the DevOps people, IT departments, we also have a set of advanced capabilities that they can enable inside the vote. It's based per role, so only the right people in the organization will see those extra features in their vote, and this is Keeper Secrets Manager. So this time it will help them remove any hard-coded credentials inside the source code, replacing configuration file secrets, pulling secrets from CI/CD systems like GitLab, GitHub, Jenkins, for example, protecting access to privileged passwords, API key, or basically any type of secrets that they could be using inside their application. It's basically a vote access machine to machine. From their application, they can access to a part of the vote. Here, the main thing is you will see that your application, they do not access to the entire vote, but only to the secrets that they need to access in order to run. Inside the vote of the users that are using Secrets Manager, they would be able to specifically say, this application should access that part of my vote, and that other application should only access that, with specific permissions as well. And finally, Keeper Secrets Manager will also help them rotate passwords, SSH keys, and service account credentials that the application would need in order to run. So your applications, they only access their part of the vote, and the passwords, the keys that they retrieve could be different every time. Keeper Secrets Manager leverage the advanced encryption model of the Keeper platform, and that's the whole point of using Keeper Secrets. Everything will be in a unified solution in the same votes, basically, that is already using advanced encryption to protect your data. So everything about encryption is described in our documentation portal. You will find a section specifically for that. Here we'll talk about our zero knowledge and zero trust approach to the vote. Basically, zero knowledge means that everything is always decrypted on your side, with Keeper never being able to access your decryption keys. No one at Keeper Security can basically decrypt your vote. We only host ciphertext for you. So in order to access the vote itself as a non-user, you either use a master passwords or SSO, and in that case, you don't have a master password at all. If you have a master password, then locally on your device, we will derive it with 1 million iteration of PBKDF2 that will generate the master password key, and this key will be able to unwrap the data key of your vote, which is a first AES 256-bit key. Then the data key does not decrypt your data directly. It will decrypt the other keys. If you have 10,000 records in your vote, we will decrypt 10,000 AES 256-bit keys at that point. We call them the record keys. Then individual record keys are used to decrypt the entire records. That could be certificates as a file attached. It could be a password. It could be a private key. It could be really anything here. If you are using SSO as a non-user, then we leverage elliptic curve cryptography. Each of your device will have its own elliptic curve key pair, a private key that never leaves the device, and a public key that has been used to encrypt the data key of your vote. So using the private key, your device can decrypt the data key and then use the data key to decrypt the rest. So this is this advanced encryption model that Keeper Secrets Manager leverages. You will find specificities, how Keeper Secrets Manager leverage that in our documentation portal. So of course, we will use the records level encryption model. Each secret is basically a record that is encrypted with its own key. Each of those record keys are then encrypted with the folder key, the shared folder key, and your application key that is client-side generated will be able to decrypt the shared folder key. Your application could be running on as many instances as you want, as many clients of the same application, basically. Each client will also have its own AES 256-bit transmission key that is in addition to TLS. And we use that to protect you against man-in-the-middle attacks. So everything that is transferred on this pipe is, leveraging the at-rest encryption model I mentioned, but then in transit, we also use a really advanced encryption model. So that was for the boring part, all of the technology parts. But what we do as Keeper is basically make complex tools easy to use for the end users. We want Keeper to be easily adopted by anybody in the company, and that also includes your DevOps department, your developers, your IT departments. Here, I will open the vote of a user that has a role that gives them access to Secrets Manager. As this user will have access to all of the features that all of my colleagues in the same organization would have access to. So basically my vote here, where I have access to different folders, share folders to collaborate with my colleagues, with my departments, my team, my projects, etc. I will also use my browser extension to navigate through the web every day and have everything auto-filled, password rotated on those websites as well. But what is in interest of us today would be this new tab here, Secrets Manager. This is where this user will be able to create the identity of each of its applications. So here you see a list of applications that this user created already. He will be able to create new application at any point of time just by giving it, and then provide access to that application to a first folder. Once you save this application, it will be in the lists, like that one, for example, demo app. Demo app could be really anything. Here you see demo app has access to one shared folder in here, My Secrets. It has edit permission. And demo app has been deployed 220 times already. I will get the list of all of those devices, instances of my application, basically, in here. And at any point of time, I could just block the access to one of those instances. I just need to select them, delete them. Those servers cannot talk to Keeper anymore. So here we'll just jump into the Keeper Secrets Manager documentation. Because Keeper Secrets Manager is leveraging a zero-knowledge encryption model where everything needs to be decrypted on the application side, basically, that means inside your application, you will need to import to use the Keeper tool. So we have different ways for you to use Keeper Secrets Manager really easily, either using an integration. So we will provide you with an integration with most of the tools that your DevOps team are currently using every day. You will find tools like Ansible, Terraform, CI/CD platform like GitHub, GitLab, Jenkins, containerization technology, Kubernetes, Docker. You will also find other Secrets Manager vote in here. The goal is that if you are already using something like Azure Key Vote or HashiCorp Vote, for example, and you want to unify everything using the Keeper votes, we will not ask you to rewrite all of your codes. Keeper will also be able to synchronize and control those other votes automatically for you. So yeah, there are other ways to integrate as well. But then if you're a developer and you build your own application, we will provide you with Keeper SDKs. Python, Java, JavaScript, .NET, Golang. We also have a PowerShell module as well. That would be useful to directly from your source code to integrate to the Keeper vote. I will show you an example here with Python here, just to show you how simple it will be for your developers. At the beginning of the code, you will need to import the Keeper tool. So in that case, that would be an SDK. That would be just a simple import here to import the Keeper Secrets Manager SDK. Then your application, they do not authenticate as you. They don't know your email address. They don't know your master password, maybe to access the vote. You will deploy them using either a one-time use token or a config file. If you go into your vote here, let's say I want to deploy demo app in a new client, a new device that is using the Keeper Python SDK, let's say. I will do edit here, edit the demo app application, add a new device, and call that one my demo instance, for example. Here, Keeper would ask me, do you want to use a one-time access token or a config file? If I generate a token, for example, my vote will give that token to me straight away. It's not saved anywhere. It's up to you to download it or copy that value and paste it into your source code. This token is a one-time use, so you can leave it behind you. As soon as your application has run one time, that token cannot be reused anymore. I will show you an example here with a running example of a Python code where I will do a simple use case. So here you see in the documentation, this SDK has a lot of different features. You could download a file that is attached to Keeper, create a new secret, update secrets. But a simple use case would be how to retrieve something from the vote from your application. So here, this is the initialization code that I mentioned before. And here, getting a secret is basically one function is the SDK, get secrets. And here you see I have been using a Keeper record unique ID, which is a pointer to the right entry in your vote. So that way you could basically query exactly the data that you want from the vote. I have a running example here where I have a Python application that is basically a nice UI here. It's just a simple pop-up where I've added this button, query vote. If you look at the source code in the left-hand side, I have basically consumed this token already, but I can still leave it in the source code. I can share this source code. No one else would be able to reuse that token anyway. But here in the code, so I have initiated Keeper Secrets Manager, and then my code is just generating a new window. And from that window, I will have the button to query the vote. So my button here is simply calling this function, query vote. And this button is basically querying a specific unique ID of record in my vote. I will just copy this value just to show you the Keeper record inside the Keeper vote. And when the application runs, it will specifically query a custom field from my Keeper record, and the name of this custom field is value from the vote. And then it will simply display that value. It's just a simple sample code here, just to show you how easy it is to query something from the vote and do whatever you want with it. It could be the password of the database, so that way your application does not have in the source code the database password, but when it runs, it will retrieve from the vote the actual password. So here, if I go into my vote and search for the Keeper unique ID here, I will find this Keeper here, this Keeper record, sorry, here. And you see this entry only has one custom field. I will edit the record just to show you. Only one custom field here, named value from the vote. And this is the value that is actually stored. So you see it ends with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I will cancel this, just display the value here. If I go back to my application and click on query vote, that's the value that would be retrieved straight away. If I change this value here, just come here and just do, this is a new value, and I will add that to the end of the string. As soon as my Keeper vote is up to date, I can just run my application again, and you will see the current value return to your application as it runs. So this is a great use case where you can see that if your password had changed in the meantime, your application will be able to retrieve that new password again from your vote fairly easily. Your logic in your source code could easily query the application password as soon as it needs it. So that was just one example using a Python SDK, but of course we will, with the integrations, for example, automate the CI/CD, your pipelines there when you deploy your applications. Here, this is another example where I'm using Keeper Secrets Manager CLI. If I go back to my documentation, you will see this is the third type of Keeper client you will find. This time it's already ready to use. So it will run on Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's basically an executable that you can just call from your external application. And this is exactly what GitLab will use during the build there, during the job, to retrieve something from my vote. So here the script that GitLab is running is fairly simple. It's basically retrieving a password, something stored in a custom field. It could be an API key, for example, and also download a file attached into Keeper. So here you see I'm using Keeper notation here. I'm running KSM, so the CLI tool, then the secret function notation, and then a link, a URI that points to the right value inside my vote. Once again, it's using a unique ID in here. But then with the Keeper notation, you can just specify if it is a field, a custom field that you want to query, or a file that is attached as well. And then here, the value at the end is the title of that field. So I just copied the unique ID of this record, and same thing here. I will just search for this unique ID in my vote. So let me just grab this value here. Let's do copy, go back to my vote. Here, this is the record that GitLab will query. You see it has three informations. So the password here, there is a file attached that could be a certificate, for example, and there is also a custom field that could be an API key, for example. So then in my script, I would just echo those values and use more to display the content of the attached file. If I just go to GitLab and just run that job again, you will basically see all of the steps from my script getting executed, accessing the vote, accessing those secrets, those sensitive values, basically without having any of those in the source code that I was showing you before. It's only as it runs that it will be to authenticate and access the right data. So when you authenticate, it will basically generate logs over there that you will be able to retrace exactly which instance of the application was able to access that vote. Just wait a second for the task to run. And yeah, you see here the export function, and then this is, yeah, echo. You will see the password here displayed in clear text, my API key that will be displayed as well, and the contents of the text file as well. So as an administrator, you will be able to retrace exactly who did what, but also as an end user, you will have access to the logs of your application from your vote directly. Here from my vote, I have access to my GitLab logs from there. Earlier, I was showing you maybe the replit tests. Same thing here. I will see when the replit platform, the Python application, was able to access that specific folder. So I mentioned that because the application does not know those infrastructure passwords, those API keys, SSH keys, maybe certificates, when you have to rotate them, it will be a lot easier, because as soon as Keeper is up to date, then your applications are up to date as well. From the vote itself, the Keeper vote will be able to automate the password rotation. So here I will show you an example, for example, with a Windows service account that is in AD. Inside my Keeper vote, I will provide the admin account that my Keeper component will use inside my network to perform the rotation. And this is the Keeper records where that user account is defined. So here the rotation in Keeper is using specific templates that Keeper provides you with. We call them rotation records, and you will find those in here. Out of the box, we can do the rotation in database directory, so OpenLDAP, AD, a standalone machine as well, so Windows, Mac, and Linux. And then you will find the Palm user record type, which is basically a user for any of those three platforms. So here you see A Bob is a PAM user record type. If I edit these records, you will find my password rotations straight away inside the vault. This is where I specify my admin credentials in here, and also if my rotation is on demand or based on schedule as well. The new password and here this is my Keeper gateway. My Keeper gateway is a component that is inside my network that is able to contact the different appliances, devices where I need to do a password rotation. So here I will just save this record just to show you that this is the current password for the service account. If I ask Keeper to do a rotation now, my gateway already got the request from the Keeper Cloud to push a new password on the remote system. The remote system accepted it, so it pushed it back into the Keeper vault. Here inside Keeper, I will also be able to attach post-rotation scripts that will allow me to automate specific things that you need to do after a password rotation. Here I will select PowerShell scripts that we provide you in our documentation. That's a good example. That use case is with Windows services. You know, Windows services, they do not use Keeper Secrets Manager out of the box. They would locally on the device store in the service configuration the service account password. So I will be able to attach the script here. And what I'll do is I will display in the right-hand side a Windows box that is actually running this service. I will be accessing my network using Keeper Connection Manager, which is a secure way to access my remote devices. I will connect to this Windows box in here. And here, this is the service I was mentioning. If you click on log on, you see it's running as Bob, the service account. And here you see the service is running. If I ask Keeper to do a new rotation on this service account, you see a new password has been pushed in AD. It's up to date in Keeper. My applications that are crewing it will get that new password. But now if you look at the status of that service, it's getting stopped automatically by my Keeper gateway, reconfigured with the new passwords, and it will start again. So this Keeper gateway is fairly easy to deploy. It's only generating outbound traffic. So you install it on Windows, Mac, or Linux in a few minutes. That service starts, goes out to the web to keepersecurity.eu or .com or to the region that you are hosting on. And then it will wait for the cloud platform to request something. Everything will be documented in here. In the Secrets Manager documentation, you will find a nice section for password rotation and consequent section for post-rotation scripts where we give you examples. The one I was showing you was about rotating the credentials of a Windows service, but here you have full control on your post-rotation script. You could basically design whatever you guys want to do.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Sylvain. I think we're going to run out of time to answer questions. I am trying to answer questions as they come in live. But if anyone would be interested in learning more, feel free to go to keeper.io/free, book a demo there, and we can get you set up with a free 3-year plan for our personal password manager subscription. Yeah, no, this was great. Thank you, Sylvain. You know, I think one thing we can add about Keeper Secrets Manager is that we really integrate with, you know, all domain providers, you know, the identity of providers and everything. So super easy to set up, super easy to use. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And yeah, feel free to reach out to us if you'd like to learn more. If you have any specific questions, any technical questions, we'll be happy to answer them all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you both for an amazing session. Really enjoyed that. Great to see everything that Keeper Security is doing these days. And we now have the final poll question of the day for you. We appreciate your feedback on additional resources you would like to see from Keeper Security. And as Adrian said, there were many questions they couldn't get to today, but the Keeper team will do their best to respond to all these questions. So have no fear if you sent in a question that did not get answered. I also want to remind everyone, while you keep voting in the poll, about the handouts. There's a PDF there, a free one from Keeper Security, that is a Keeper Secrets Manager data sheet. Be sure to check that out and download it right now if you'd like more detail. Thanks to everyone who's responding to the poll. That feedback is so important to us and to our presenters. I'm going to leave it up here for another moment while we give away our three $300 gift cards. That's right, $900 total in 3 gift cards in today's event. And the 3 winners of those cards are Jimmy Arcade from California, Ryan Wright, also from California, and Warren Noguchi from Hawaii. Congratulations to our 3 winners today. We are going to be in touch with you ASAP about claiming your prizes. So I really hope that everyone enjoyed today's EcoCast. And if so, I wanted to let you know that we can do one of these for you. We would love to hear from you to help you determine which of our hundreds of events each year would be a good fit for you. We can also do a custom event tuned to your exact needs. We do a lot of those as well. So if you're interested, contact us at the email you see up there, connect@actualtechmedia.com, and we'll be right back with you. Finally, today, folks, before I cut you loose, wanted to tell you about an EcoCast event tomorrow that might interest you. It's about maximizing your workforce, and it features some of the top companies in the space, as you can see there: Control Up, Tanium, Menlo, Security Scale Computing, Nutanix. That event starts at noon tomorrow, June 5th, which is 9 a.m. for those of you waking up earlier on the West Coast. Sign up to take advantage of what is sure to be some more amazing comment. And with that, folks, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Keeper Security for their great presentation today. Thanks to all of you attendees as well for being here, for your interest in this topic. And that concludes today's event, folks. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.